Survivor Specialist Phil and Will are back with our, I don't know, there's 12 people left in the game. We're doing predictions. We're doing
Episode 9.
Episode 9. Why do I never look up what episode it is before we go live? I never. Not one time.
Because it doesn't really matter. We're talking about the next episode.
It's the next one. It's just, it's just all linear.
Nice
anyway,
haircut.
Thanks, man. Yeah, my barber cut my hair really short. Will's been making fun of me nonstop for it. We'll see. I mean, maybe we'll get
fine. It doesn't look that bad. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah, you just like making fun of me. I mean, if you look at the last video compared to what I look like here in the last one, I kind of look like a mountain man, and now I kind of look like a human. So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on from that, and we'll talk about Survivor, if that's cool with you.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, cool. So anyway, we got a lot of comments. I think this might be the most comments we've ever gotten was on our YouTube video from last week. So if you are commenting live here, remember – we got the little chat on the side. You can obviously comment there. We're not going to read those. Go comment on the last video. And, I mean, we have 86 comments. That's a lot. We're probably not going to read every single one of those. Yeah, but it'll be fun. This should be a good podcast. We're done with Michelle, and we're down to 12, and it seems like it's a pretty 9-3 alliances right now. It seems like it's pretty cut and dry who should go home this week.
Yeah, and this is what makes the power ranking so difficult because there's only 3 people at the bottom and one of them has an idol. Like, that leaves 9 people. You just don't know really how to rank them. And I have a feeling that Jay may use his idol successfully, and then one of these 9 people that's in this massive majority is going to get idled out. And it's so hard to know where this minority will toss their votes. There is the possibility that the 9 can split, of course. So a lot of things that can happen. And there are not, it's not like just Jay with an idol. We have David and Adam with idols as well. And we saw Adam, he might be kind of falling out of that majority with all the people saying that they might not trust him. So there's a lot going on. The rankings were very difficult for me. I'm not sure if you had a tough time, Phil. My process, I essentially put Taylor at the bottom, and I know we usually start at the top, but this is just how I worked it out. It was Taylor at the bottom at 12, Will at 11, and then I went from top down because who else is going to be at the bottom? I mean, I don't even think one of them is that guaranteed 100% to go home, but who else are you going to put there? So
that's exactly what I did. I went 12, 11. I figured Taylor and Will. But then after that, I was like, man, if Jay plays this idol, because he knows it's coming now. And I think that this was a big missed opportunity last week where they got rid of Michelle, but Jay, Taylor, and Will and Michelle had no idea that it was coming. So that was your chance to actually get rid of a huge contender that you think might have the idol because they didn't know it was coming. They thought they had the numbers. So with Jay now, he knows it's coming. Jay wins immunity. He's not going to play the idol, and Taylor or Will is going to go home. They might split the votes, but Jay's not going to play the idol for somebody other than himself, I don't feel. What I'm worried about is if he does play the idol successfully, I don't think that this group of 9 is tight enough to split votes right now. I really don't think they're tight enough. And what happens if Jay plays – I was going to say something else, but it doesn't matter. I just don't think they're tight enough to split these votes and feel confident going into it that these 9 are going to be like, 5-4, and then he's got 3.
Yeah,
I don't buy it.
And it's like this group of 9 didn't all get together and I don't think come to a consensus. They didn't huddle up in a circle or anything or get in the water. This was like 3 people or 4 people talking to each other, then talking to another group, and then talking to another group, and they're like, okay, this is kind of who we have. You're completely right. They're not really unified at all. And if one group of these 3 or 4 people that branch off, they say, wow, if we have a split, we can just kind of renege on that, take advantage of these votes being split, pair up with Jay and people on the bottom, get 6 votes or 7 votes at someone in the majority. So that can happen as well. Let's get into the rankings here. I know we already said our bottom 2, which are fairly obvious. At number 1, I have David. This is somebody that could definitely take a stray bullet, but he's not physically threatening. I don't think people are seeing him as a strategic threat or social threat. He does have an idol. If he is wary, I know Zeke knows he has the idol, so if Zeke wanted to kind of throw David under the bus, he could probably get that done, but Zeke and David seem tight. I think David has so many connections and is so not threatening at this point. I got him at number 1.
And David is the one, I have him at number 1 as well. He is the one that I think Taylor, Jay, and Will could pull over to their side. And I think they could pull him. And I also think they might be able to pull Chris or a Zeke. I don't think Zeke wants to work with Taylor or Jay. It might not happen this week. They might lose another, and then it might be 9. But it could easily happen this week. And, we did get that scene with David talking to Taylor. And I know it's looking like it's more and more pointless every week. But I really believe that if they're going to show that, and it was the only thing they showed from that whole entire thing, If David were to go to them, now it's 8-4. If he can bring a Chris with him and a Zeke with him, now it's 6-6. And Brett is already kind of close with he's kind of close with Jay. Like, they did vote together. They did get rid of Michaela. They did completely blindside Michaela. It's an interesting dynamic now. I don't think this is going to be as cut and dry as the next three boots are going to be Taylor, Will, Jay. I really don't think they're going to be. Adam is a huge target for everybody right now, but David is in the driver's seat, I feel. And I was talking to a guy I work with. This is the first season of Survivor he's watched since like season 10. And I asked him, I was like, just as somebody who rarely watches, who do you think is going to win? And he said, I think David is going to win. And it's really crazy because so many like huge Survivor fans they're having a hard time imagining a David win with how he's been edited. But I feel like regular people are sitting there like, David.
Yeah, and he's had such a good story as well. I was saying this on last week's recap. Like, David is in such a good spot. And, hey, his edit has been just going up and up and up. Like, he's had a good arc of, not being paranoid and learning to find himself and all that stuff. So he's definitely a top contender, especially with Jay and Adam's games taking such hits last week. Unfortunately, I wrote up my power rankings, then my computer crashed, and then I opened up my computer again, and I'm not seeing my power rankings. I don't think I saved them. I just typed them up in a Word doc, so I don't really remember exactly who I have. I think at number 2. How about you go for number 2, and maybe it will track my memory.
So you can copy off of me? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I have a pretty good idea, but
at number 2, I have Sunday, and Sunday is a non-factor in this game right now. She's voting with majorities pretty much every single time. But we've really not heard anything from Sunday. We really haven't seen much of Sunday. And I believe that Sunday, if Jay, Taylor, and Will can somehow get the numbers and pull something, they're never voting for Sunday. And if they do vote for Sunday, it's a completely stupid move to vote for Sunday. There's no reason to do it right now. Sure, she could definitely be somebody who gets idled out of this game with how weird of an edit she's had. But, I mean, if they can actually pull something, why are you getting rid of a pawn when you get rid of a kingpin? I just don't understand it. And I think Sunday is almost as safe as pretty much the second safest person. That's why I got number 2.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have Sunday a little bit lower. I did remember who I have, and I'll talk about Sunday as well when I get to her, but there's not much to say. You're right. Why take her out now when there are so many threats available? I have Zeke at number 2 just because of his awesome episode last week. I think he's great with the Gen Xers. He's great with the Millennials. He's someone that I don't see flipping over to Jay, but he's someone that, I don't know, he's got a little bit of a little bit of gold in each basket. Like, he's got people everywhere in different groups and different alliances. He has information too. He knows about David's idol. I don't know. I just don't see Zeke going home, even though he is such a big threat. He's got more game to play. So I got Zeke at number 2. At number 3, I have Jessica. Similar kind of story to Sunday. I know Jessica, we've seen more of her, but she's not someone you really want to take out unless she has another just stellar, performance at the immunity challenge. People are like, wow, we got to get her out before she wins one. I don't see that happening just because we do have Taylor, we have Will, we have Jay, we have Chris. We have really big alpha threats to the challenges. I don't think that's how Jessica is going to get booted. And with that big edit early, I think she's going to stick around. So I got Jessica at 3, and then I'll just say Sunday. She's at 4.
Okay. All right, man. Well, I'll roll with mine a little bit here. I have Zeke a little bit lower. I originally had Zeke all the way up at number 2, and the only reason I moved him down is because I fear for Zeke that Taylor, Jay, and Will could say to themselves, we're never going to get Zeke back. And they might be sitting there saying Zeke is actually the one who's kind of in control over there. He's got connections with all those people, and he kind of brought them together. And if they see that, then I could see them going for Zeke and him being idled out. But I don't think he's going this week. I just have him a little bit lower. At 3, I
see what you're saying, but just I don't think that's who Jay and Taylor and Will, if they can get numbers, that's not who they're going to target. I think they would go for someone like Chris or Brett, someone who's more physically present, and they see that
Even
as
Ken.
more threatening. Yeah, someone Ken for sure is possibly to get idled out here. To take out a fellow millennial who Zeke hasn't really done anything to that group. He didn't vote with them on that last vote, but I don't think they were expecting Zeke to vote with them anyway. So I don't know. That's why I think Zeke is in a really good spot. But I hear you.
All right. Well, I'm going to go number 3. I'm going to go Hannah. Might seem kind of crazy, but I'm already down by 7 to you anyway. And my reasoning for Hannah is kind of like Sunday. I don't think people are actually looking at Hannah as a threat in this game. I think they're underestimating Hannah, and she went right over to Zeke, right over to Adam. She tried to pull some things together, and I don't think people are going to give her the credit that she deserves for that, which I also think is a great thing for her right now, because she's not going to be on Taylor or Jay's radar. I don't think that they're sitting there saying, let's get rid of Hannah. I honestly think Jay thought that he could count on Hannah at the last vote, but when he didn't get Hannah, I don't think that there's anybody else that he – like I think he feels that he could still pull Hannah over. I don't think that there's many other people that he feels he could, because he already – got Hannah to say, look, I'll vote however you want. I'll vote however you want. I think he believes that he could get Hannah at some point. I don't think that Hannah goes this week. I have her really high.
I don't think that's all that high, though. I know maybe – when I think of like Jay, Will, and Taylor sitting around like, all right, we have this idol. If we play it correctly, who are we putting the votes on? Like, I don't see them saying – somebody like Zeke, someone like Hannah who's a millennial. I think they're going to go after Gen Xers. They're going to go after the strong Gen Xers like Ken, Chris, or Brett. So I don't think that's too high. I have her not that much lower. I'll get to her right now. At 5, I have Jay. This might sound high because he is in the minority, but he has the idol, and like Phil said at the top of this podcast, the cards are on the table. Like, he knows he doesn't have the numbers. He has this idol. No one else knows that he has it. So he should be able to, find a way to use this to his advantage, even if it's showing to somebody, even if it's playing it on somebody else, or maybe he can win an immunity challenge. I just don't think Jay is going to go home. And like you said, if he goes in tribal and he has this, and he doesn't have immunity, like, he'll just play on himself. Like, that's really not that crazy to do, especially they rehide idols. They know this. And he's in such a dire position with the numbers. If the numbers don't flip, I totally can see him playing the idol correctly. So I got him at 5. At 6, I have Hannah. So I did not have.
Oh, okay. You want it? Okay.
Oh, just because you had talked about Hannah. So
okay, yeah,
so I got Hannah at 6. I agree with you. It's just why she's not a threat in the challenges, and that's where their mind will be. I really think so. And she's a millennial. And hey, if anyone's mixing around with the Gen Xers and millennials, as good as Zeke, she's right up there. She's really been impressive lately.
And our top 6 is the exact same, just in a different order. And I'm using Jay as my eliminator pick this week, and I have him at number 4. And I know most people are going to sit here and be like, you're all idiots, because we have plenty of those comments anyway. But I'm using Jay because he knows it's coming. Now he knows it's coming, and he's going to know whether or not he's actually successfully been able to pull people over. And if he goes into tribal council and Taylor has an immunity necklace around his neck and Jay doesn't, Jay's playing his idol because Jay knows he's going to be the one booed. He knows it. He knows it's coming, so I'm gonna use Jay for my eliminator thing. Anybody who got confused last week, Will did use Zeke. He did not use Michelle. Miscommunication on our part. So we're both still alive in the eliminator. I'm using Jay. I got him at 4. And then at 5, I have Jessica. Why vote her out? She's not that big of a threat. She is somebody who Taylor, I think, feels a little bit comfortable with and has been open to Taylor. So why not keep her around? You got to keep the people that you think you can somewhat work with at some point around. Jessica's one of those people. And then at 6, I have Zeke. Like I said, I had him way higher, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, maybe Zeke plays a little too hard here. Like we saw what happened to Adam in literally 1 week. Goes from being in a really great position to nobody can trust him. And so I think maybe Zeke could do the same thing, but I do think Zeke's pretty savvy. I also think Adam's pretty savvy. So you just never know. People just overplay their hands. It's late in the game, and, it's a whole new stage. So I have him at 6.
Gotcha. I agree. I mean, like you said, we have the same top 6. It's pretty funny how it works out. At 7, I have Adam. He's got the idol. He probably should be higher, but it was just so weird from Adam last week. He played way too hard, even addressed that he was playing too hard, and then continued to play too hard. Like, if he keeps this up and doesn't relax and kind of sit back a little bit, I can see them totally blindsiding Adam. Like, we haven't really talked about this possible. We've talked about Jay playing an idol or them pulling numbers over. What about this group of 9 saying, I'm really worried about one of my own in this group? And like you said, it's not a unified group, so they could just go at one of themselves. That could be Adam for sure. He does have the idol though. I like his chances to stick around. I don't know who I'm doing an eliminator pick. You're gonna have to remind me who I've used. But yeah, I got Adam at 7. And then I'll let you go. Let's see what you have.
I have Adam at 7 as well, and I think the whole thing with Adam right now, the reason I have him here, I think you're spot on, and I do think that this is a time when they can go, hey, Adam, we got you, like, without him realizing. Like, because I think they kind of gained his trust last week by being like, yeah, man, we voted with you. You didn't have to use your idol. Look, you're good with us. You're fine. I could see him getting blindsided with the idol in his pocket, especially with how crazy of like a down that episode was for him. So yeah, I could see him getting blindsided. I do think that he would play it, but I don't think he's as aware that he could be on the bottom as somebody like Jay is. Jay knows that it's going to be him. He'll know whether or not he can sway people. Adam doesn't – I don't think Adam realizes how much he actually has to sway people. He was able to do it last week. I think he might get a little comfortable. So I worry for him a bit. But
because Zeke and Hannah were like that was his alliance from the original Millennials tribe. I know he has a good relationship with Jessica and Ken, but we saw him interacting with neither of them last episode. So people, and both of them said, like, I don't know if I can trust Adam. He's a bad alliance member. Like, we got that last week. So I definitely worry for Adam. I hope that he doesn't go. I hope he doesn't have to use his idol. I would love for Adam to idol somebody out eventually. That would be awesome to see.
I think so too. I would like to see that, and I'm rooting for it to happen. I'll go ahead of you here. I have Ken at 8.
Same here.
We probably have the same. I mean, I go Ken, Brett, Chris. Is that what you do?
I have Ken, Chris, Brett.
Okay. Well, I'll give my reasoning for the order that I put this in. I went Ken at 8 because I think he's the least threatening to Jay. I don't think Jay knows that much about him. I don't think he's that threatening. He's somebody that Taylor feels that he might have some sort of in with. So I don't think they're looking at Ken as that big of a threat. Brett has already worked with Jay to get rid of Michaela. So I feel like maybe Jay thinks he can pull Brett back in with him. So if he gets an idol, I don't think he idols out Brett. Chris, however, has never once voted with Jay. He's never had to. Jay knows the least about Chris. I could see Chris definitely getting booted here if they don't split the votes, or if one person goes rogue and they say, we're going to vote for Chris. Chris is going to be the one that I feel like that would be the person that they would probably target. He's a huge guy, big challenge threat, and I just think that he would be the one they'd go for because they know the least about him. Taylor doesn't know anything about him. Will doesn't know anything about him. Jay doesn't know anything about him.
Yeah, that's all good points. And again, we have the same 3 before we get to Will and Taylor. So I do agree with you. The only thing different I have is Brett and Chris flipped, just because I think Jay and that whole crew on the bottom right now, they trusted Brett and Sunday to vote with them. Like, they thought they had those votes in the bag, and now Brett didn't vote. Brett, kind of betrayed them in a way. And maybe Jay is not even about revenge, but just, hey, Brett's playing this game. I don't want him around. Mm-hmm. And if someone has an idol, maybe Brett's not that likely to have an idol. Chris is more likely. I don't know. We're arguing over, one spot here. I also have Ken at 8 just because his edit was so strong, and I think that's going to pick up before he goes home, and we have heard nothing from him the past 2 weeks. It'd be kind of weird for Ken to all of a sudden get like blindsided out and not really hear from him. So
because he had one of the strongest pre-merge edits, and then to go from a really strong pre-merge to just like the episode before the merge and then the merge episode get nothing and then go home the next week, it'd be like, why did we see so much of Ken early? Like, why?
Exactly. It just, unless he has a huge episode this week, I don't see him going home. Who do we have for me for elimination? I know you keep track of this. Who have I used?
Yeah, you've used Adam, Ken, David, Will, Jessica, Hannah, and Zeke. I love it because they're all still in the game. I love it.
That's ridiculous. So who
am I? Much better. I the only one who's out of the game for me is Michelle.
They're all still in the game because we didn't want to pick the people that we thought might get voted off, and then they get voted off like the next episode or that episode. It's like,
oh, we both like hold on to Michaela, assuming like Michaela will be good, and then Michaela, bye-bye.
So who do I have to choose from?
You can pick. You can pick Taylor. You can pick Brett. You can pick Chris. You can pick Jay. You can pick Sunday.
All right. I don't want to pick the same person as you. I cannot go with Taylor or Chris or Brett. So it's going to have to be Jay or Sunday, and you're using Jay. So I will go with Sunday this episode. If she were to go this episode, we both have her so high in our power rankings. That would be rough.
Yeah, and that would be the end of it. All right, man. So yeah, we're both down to it, though. I mean, I only have, just like to look at that real quick. I have Taylor. I used Taylor. I used Will. I have Chris left. I have Brett left. I have Zeke left. I have Jessica left. And I have Hannah left. So I'm doing a little bit better than you, but I'm not doing that much better than you.
You're like a person ahead of me.
That's it. Yeah, one person ahead. But if one of those goes, I'm happy I used Taylor. That's what I will say.
Yeah. All of my picks are in the game. Wow.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's do a quick update here because we haven't really updated these games in a while. We finally have the updates. If you did participate in the boot list or the prop bet, we do have those scored now. So
I'll do prop bet first just because it's been the one that's been the longest waiting.
Okay, go for it. I'll do this one after comments then.
I'm just going to read the people in double digits because there's a lot of people and I don't feel like doing this, and plus it makes me feel good because I have double digits. So Phil 10. Torrey Cosgrove 10. And anybody who's wondering, Will has 7. So it's just 10-7. Torrey Cosgrove 10. Troy Maynard 11. 0P681 10. Giovanni Oriana 12. Tara Stacy 15. That's the high, I think, all of them. Kevin McLeod 10. Brian Johnson 13. Connor Berry 10. Sam Jammer 10. Kia Ishragi, 11. I don't know, 12. Joseph Haas, 10. Steel Punch, 10. Unai Bastida, 12. Loki Lokinen tied with Tara Stacy at 15. I'm just rolling down. X Bruin, 12. Nate, 14. And then the real Negro at 13. So it's pretty tight. Like, I'm only 5 points down. I'm pretty happy with that.
The prop bet's usually pretty tight. Yeah. Gotcha. I'll roll off with the boot list here. A lot of some same names coming up. So we have Trey Corby has 27 points, which is ridiculous. I mean, we have some really high entries. We have Crimson Unicorn at 29, Edwin Hernandez at 33, Michael Feeney at 36, David Purcell at 37, MD Lems 888 at 38, my man Nathan at 38, Nicola Joseph Parr at 38, Tara Stacy, she's in the top here too, at 39, Jeff Gamir at 39, Zachary Valentine 39, Mike Hirsch 41, Benjamin LaFleur 42, Sarah Christine 42, Tori Cosgrove 42, Twisty Pops 43, Will, myself at 43, Deva Henosi at 43. So that's everybody with 45 points under. That's 16, the top 16.
What do I have? I know I'm getting killed in that. How bad?
It's not that bad. I mean, most people are hovering in the 50s somewhere. You are at 60.
Yeah, I'm not doing very good. And I have like Sunday, I think, at 19th place or 20th place or something. And she's just going to keep on cruising, I feel like.
Yeah, that's going to that's really what's going to come down to how these high people or low people that they last in the game. And I just want to give a shout out to Johnny Talk Sports here because this is a rough boot list. I don't want to. It's not just we're having good fun here, but it's just insane how this worked out. His final four is Michelle, Mari, Michaela, and Figgy, and then Paul was at 6. So just very, very rough. It shows you how bad it can go. So even if you're in the middle, you should still feel pretty good.
Yeah, and just to update the fantasy game score, I have 128. Will has 101. So I had to throw that one out there so I could feel good about myself. And then the Phantom Tribe has 67 and only has Sunday and Ken left. So we're doing all right. Well, we shouldn't lose to the Phantom Tribe. I don't know. I think somebody might have lost to the Phantom Tribe last year. I don't remember what their name was. I know it started with a W and ended with ill.
Well, Ken might. Yeah. If Ken goes on to win this thing, then the Phantom Tribe could jump me.
You could still lose. Hey man, we never know.
Okay, let's get to comments here. I think we had a lot of fun ones. So
yeah. Okay. So a lot of these. How do you want to do this with people who aren't so kind to us? Because there's some comments in here that just aren't very nice. Do you want to read them anyway?
Let's I mean, let's give them a chance to make their point. I mean, we can certainly be wrong, and if they're mean about it, then we'll see what they have to say. Maybe they're right.
Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some YouTube, then I'm going to go over to Twitter, then I'm going to go back to YouTube because there's a lot of YouTube. So let's try to bounce around a little bit so we don't get like a run of people again. CVB, I like season 32 a lot, but Jason and Scott's bullying of Alicia went too far, made me uncomfortable. Do you think any of the remaining contestants will do that? Drama on the show is fun to watch, but for me, there's a fine line when it just becomes too much. Jeff Steinberg replied, no, think Chris is the only one who would do that, and now this is post-merge. Why bother unless you're Will and Shireen, and Chris is not Will. Do you think there's anybody who's going to come out as like a huge villain here, Will? Because this is another question we have, and I forget who asked it, but it's way later. Do you think that anybody's actually going to emerge as a villain on this season?
I mean, Jay's like cold stare was pretty villainous, but I don't know. You don't need a villain on every Survivor season. Like, you have people you're rooting for, and there's some people you're rooting against. But honestly, if it's a bunch of likable people going head to head, battling it out, and having a good time while doing it, that's honestly super entertaining, and that's what it's been like so far. And I've loved the season. And just, I can't believe Jay and Scott Bowling and Alicia was considered like that was that bad. I think like when we podcasted that, I think we're not defending those guys, but at the end of the day, it's like they're out there on an island spending 24/7 with somebody. If they don't get along, they don't get along. I don't think there was anything like personally vicious attacks that were like terrible.
Like, well,
I mean,
Will
was that was so bad, and that was so uncalled for, and that was terrible. So I don't want to like group Jay group Kyle and Scott with Will. I don't want to put them in the same basket. So did Alicia get called names? Yeah, a lot of people get called names. It's part of life.
And what I want to say with this one, in terms of villain, this reminds me of older Survivor season villains. Lex was a villain. Everybody loved Lex. Boston Rob was a villain in Marquesas. Everybody loved Boston Rob. I feel like Jay is like that type of villain where, like, yeah, he's got some villainous tendencies, and he's definitely not, like, he definitely had that cold stare down, got rid of Michaela, gets rid of a huge fan favorite. You got to remember, during Marquesas, Boston Rob gets rid of Hunter and Gina, who were, like, really well-liked at the time. And I don't care what you say. They were really well-liked at the time. I don't know what it's like in retrospect, but at the time, those were two people were really rooting for. And Boston Rob gets rid of them, and Boston Rob is so much fun. These are older school villains on this season. It's not the necessarily, like, Russell Hantz type villains or even, like, a Tony type villain. These are, like, really likable people that just happen to be playing the game a little bit more vicious than other people, and vicious in terms of gameplay, not in terms of what Russell's doing with burning socks and stupid shit.
Right.
I would consider Taylor a villain, but Taylor's like completely harmless.
Yeah, like he's eating food and yeah.
You know, so it
I
really
agree.
depends.
That's a good point. I agree.
Let's see here. Sonia Kenny, you guys are idiots. He can't run the table like Mike Holloway, nor does he have a big strategic alliance. Michelle was the brain. No millennial bros going to the end. Smooth Evans says Taylor can make it to the end as a GOAT. I mean, I don't like being called an idiot. I mean, I just got bullied, right? Can we? I just got bullied.
Yeah, yeah, that was crossing the line, I think.
But I think one of these bros could pull a go on an immunity run. These challenges, yeah, I don't think Will's gonna do it.
But that's not what we're arguing. I'm not arguing that Jay is gonna be in the minority for this whole time, run the table at challenges, sit at the final three. No, I think there's gonna be idols played. I think there are gonna be voting blocks. I think there are gonna be just groups of people switching back and forth in the numbers. This isn't gonna be a straight pagonging of the current 9-3. Until it happens, that's not at all what I'm predicting. And when we roll through our power rankings, you could see like everyone's jumbled up. Like there really isn't clear lines. It's got 9 people who really aren't unified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like you got to remember, these 9 came together for the first time on 2 days before they voted out Michelle. There's no allegiance is really built up there, not between all 9 at least.
Right.
Sonia Kenny is again. No such thing as voting blocks with first-timers. They're not as savvy. I mean, I think we're still seeing voting blocks. Yeah, I think this season might be one of the only seasons that's done it, but I definitely think we're seeing them this season.
I think we're going to see more of it, too. Especially it's like if it's first-time people who don't know Survivor at all, then you're likely right. But they all watch Second Chance, and, like, they saw that strategy play out in front of them on their television screens, and they're coming out here to play. They know that's a viable way to play where you just bounce around week to week. I mean, I think, and that's exactly why I give him a chance, even though it is 9-3 right now.
Yeah. LJ and Krabby had given MVP to Adam and LVP to Taylor, and Smooth Evan responded with, Adam had a terrible episode, just told Taylor that he was searching for the idol, but plus he also told him about his advantage. Also, he freaked out when Zeke told him his name was on the block. He started to talk to Taylor, making Hannah and Zeke his core lines, plus David suspicious. Yeah, Adam ended up winning LVP. I think deservedly for this episode. It was definitely
it's just because he started out. It's because he started off so hot. and he was so high, and just that's what got him. Because in the end, he voted with majority, didn't waste his idol, and is moving into this next episode with a clear-cut 3 people on the bottom, and he's not one of them. So it's not like he's in a terrible position. It's just that he was looking so good that he fell.
Yeah, he definitely fell. And Zeke definitely went up, and it seems like Zeke might get the better of Adam at some point moving forward here. Ben Hudson, R.I.P. Michelle. She was kind of using the Jeremy technique of human shields. She had gotten deep with the likes of Taylor, Figgy, and Jay. She could have had a landslide victory. She's far more likable and strategic. Plus, Taylor, Jay, Figgy were theoretically far more likely to be seen as physical threats and get booted before her. Too bad things didn't go smoothly. I mean, who would have pegged Jay as capable of the annihilation that was the Michaela blindside? So Michelle, she was all right. I mean, she was a good strategic player, and she kind of got we're scared that Jay or Taylor has the idol and would give it to each other, and so we'll just get rid of Michelle instead. Yeah,
that's why even if you don't think you're the target, do everything you can to get in the majority so that your name doesn't even come up at all. And yeah, she did that. She's a victim of the fear of idols.
Yeah. GZG abuse. Michelle gets blindsided. Then in quotes, she was fun. She was strategic. She was great. Michaela gets blindsided. In quotes, screw her. Good move by Jay. He will win 10-0. She was trash anyway. GZG, I have no idea what you are talking about. We really like Michaela. I don't know where you get this idea that we dismissed Michaela. We thought it was a good move for Jay because of how good of a player Michaela was. I have no idea what you watched in order to get these ridiculous statements. No idea.
Yeah, I mean, I was really sad to see Michaela go, but it doesn't mean I think Jay is going to win 10-0 just because. And Michaela was much more exciting than Michelle. We never said otherwise. I don't know what that is. So
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I love Michaela.
You were talking about these mean comments, and I said maybe they're right. I don't think so far they're not.
I think so far we're 0 for 2. I don't know what episode GZG watched. And then Ms. Diva 92 said, what do you mean? There was a lot of people who were upset that Michaela got blindsided, and there still is. Yeah, we were one of them. We said Jay's move. We defended Jay's move. That's what we did. We're some of the only people to defend Jay's move. That doesn't mean we didn't like Michaela. I would much rather still have Michaela still in this game and have it have been Brett or Sunday who went home. I would 100% much rather have that. But he made a big move, and we defended it.
And proof of that, neither of us used her in our eliminator picks because we thought she was someone we could have in the bag for later because we thought she'd make a deep run.
Exactly. God, jeez. Okay. We're down. Mind yours. I think they aren't aware of how Survivor works. You don't send home Taylor so soon. Being they need an ace villain in the whole target when they have no other options, last thing they want to do is take out Taylor and Jay now, then be confused on who to vote out next, thus cripple their alliance. They killed one of the cool kids out of the game from that crew, which happened to be Taylor. You haven't noticed this is a game now of Revenge of the Nerds. The jocks and cool kids were kicking the quiet and nerdy people out. Now the jocks have been neutered and the cool kids are being expelled from the game. Yet they don't attack them at full force. They take small jabs at them to let them know that they mean business. So mind yours, are you trying to say that they shouldn't take out Taylor now because they want to keep him around and take out some of their own? I think that's the point of this.
I wasn't sure. I mean, I agree with the narrative of like the Revenge of the Nerds. Like that's certainly happening. I don't think we have a clear-cut winner yet because when you look at the 3 who are on the bottom right now, you have Jay who has been like pretty likable throughout. You have Taylor who, for a villain, if he is this villain, he's like the most likable, non-threatening villain ever. And then you have Will who we haven't seen that much of him. And when we do, he's always gotten positivity and he won that challenge last week and had so much joy. I don't see these people as like these jocks that are bullying people. The thing is, you get rid of Taylor now because if you ever watch Survivor Token Cheens, they said, oh no, we can get rid of our own first, and then we'll worry about JT and Steven. And JT and Steven are sitting in the final 2 when they were down 6-3 at final 9. There's no reason they should have been the final 2. You get rid of the people against you. Honestly, it's boring, but the best way to play this game, if you're on top of an alliance, is to do what Sophie did in South Pacific or what Kim did in One World. Don't mess around if you're already on top of the alliance. Yeah, what Rob did in Redemption Island.
Yeah, so I think you get rid of Taylor.
Of course. I would get rid of, Will, Taylor, and Jay. That would be the 3 I'd want on.
It would be boring, but it would probably be the smartest thing for them to do. Lucille Beckford. I think in the back of David's mind, there could still be some potential to work with Taylor later on. Taylor's the perfect person to bring along because he's not winning any votes. I was wondering why Dave was so adamant that Taylor might have the idol, but for sure not Michelle. David already got the idol from the Takali tribe before the swap. They still don't know who has the Vanilla idol because Adam didn't tell anyone about it. For all they know, Michelle had it. She and Zeke had been at that camp the longest. After rewatching the episode, everyone from their alliance said Taylor and only David suggested Michelle because of potential idols. Do you think that David and Taylor would work together at some point in the game? It would make sense why they showed that scene. Them working at the summit seems like foreshadowing. For when David realizes that the people he's working with are big threats to win and he decides to flip on them with someone like Taylor. Maybe I'm reaching, but what do you think?
Well, we talked about this last week. Maybe David tossed Michelle's name out there and said Taylor might have an idol to get votes away from Taylor because he knows he has a relationship with Taylor, though be it a very tiny one and brief conversation they had at the summit. He knows he can go back to Taylor and reach out down the line, and so he's tossed out Michelle, someone he, was on this tribe with and it didn't really click with and knows Michelle. So
yeah, and I think he definitely could work with Taylor later in the game. If Taylor stays around, that's a good person for David to have because he will beat Taylor, and he knows that. And I think that's why if you're on top of this other alliance, you get rid of Taylor as soon as you can because you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen. Like, people can change like that. I mean, Russell said it in Samoa, I'm not done playing yet. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. He was able to take it from 8-4 to where now they're in control because he was just able to persuade one or two people that were on the bottom of an alliance. So I think you get rid of Taylor as fast as possible, even though he's not that much of a threat to win, but David could definitely work with him. Definitely. All right, let's see. Giovanni Rihanna, yes, Adam did get 10 confessionals this episode. So, yeah, anybody who had that for the prop bet, he's the first one to get it. Only one so far.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, he's the only one with 10 an episode, which is kind of crazy.
Well, as fewer people are left, there's more room for more confessionals per person.
Yeah, if you're in the finale, you'll probably get 10 confessionals. At least 4 of the 5 or 5 of the 6, whatever it is. Gamer Girl, Adam still didn't have a good episode, though, even though he found an advantage. That'll most likely be his downfall. Giovanni responds, I think Phil and Will are biased, but so is everyone in some way. Of course, we're going to be a little biased towards Adam, but he still was the LVP of the week. He ended up.
Yeah, I think we said I nominated him for LVP, and we continually talked about how, he had a really bad episode. Talked about it today. We're rooting for him. Rooting for Adam, though, for sure.
Obviously. I mean, why would we not? Gamer Girl, I compared Will to Carter because, like Carter, he's not getting a lot of airtime, but unlike Carter, he's getting some. And like Carter, I think he'll win a lot of challenges. Do you think that Will's going to win more challenges, or do you think Will won that challenge, Will goes this week?
Will could definitely go this week for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely, and that's why I have him just one away from the bottom spot. Yeah, it's definitely
Let's go, Christopher Doucette. I think you guys are overselling Zeke and underselling Chris and David. Chris brought in Brett and Sunday. Zeke did bring in his nerds and David picked the boot. Someone who had gone for him specifically. I also really don't think Jay can integrate.
That's fair. I mean, it's not that we aren't really giving Chris credit. The show didn't give him any credit. We didn't see anything where Chris is gathering people around and having side conversations. Zeke was everywhere that episode, and they're showing that for a reason. So. I don't know. What did we really see from Chris other than him being kind of a smooth guy and easy to talk to in these conversations? I didn't see him kind of bringing people together.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like – was he the one who said to Ken, because Ken was kind of trying to fight back a little bit, and he was like, no, Ken, we got to get rid of this guy. Was he the one who kind of convinced Ken?
Yeah, that's what I mean. He was in the conversations and he was present, but I didn't see him getting numbers for his alliance. I think he was got his few people and they were talking about the vote, which I think Zeke was doing more than just that.
Yeah, Zeke was actually creating alliances, whereas like you said, Chris was just kind of doing it for this week. Thomas Zelenka, I normally don't read the MVP things, but I want to read this one because he has Hannah as MVP. How great was her coming back from being blindsided, integrating into the group, that even Jay trusted her as his top 3, Jay's secret scene, while being pissed and wanting to go against them. Calming down Adam to keep him while knowing that she can get rid of him later. I was impressed. Zeke was great too, but Hannah gets plus points for her night after.
I like it. We both had Hannah having a great episode last week. She's really the past 2. She's just coming up and up. I'm excited to see her play. I can still use her for my eliminator, or no? I've used her already.
I think you can still use her.
No, I did. I already used her. Bummer.
Oh yeah, you used her. I didn't.
Oh man. Yeah, she's looking good.
She is looking good. I got to actually get back to the comments here. So, Let's see. CVB, who's the worst at challenges? Scout, Sandra, Sunday, or somebody else? I don't think Sunday's that bad at challenges. I just don't think she's done anything. Like, really. I don't think she's that bad. I mean, she hasn't done anything to be like, oh, my God, she's horrible.
I'm going to say Dan Lembo.
Yeah, Dan Lembo was definitely. He couldn't even do one of the challenges.
Yeah, he's just like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah. Dragon Yell, who do you think Jessica would give the advantage to if she's voted out and Ken is gone, voted her out?
Wait, if Ken's the one who votes her out?
If Ken is either gone or if he has a hand in voting her out, who does Jessica give it to?
Probably Adam. I don't know.
You think so? I think David.
David, yeah, it's true. He played the idol for her. David might get it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, even if Ken's still there. I mean, we'll see how close her and David. We didn't get to really see them like have like a reuniting moment last week, so we'll see. GZG abuse. Michaela deserved to make it to the merge. She would have lasted longer than Michelle. Plus, Michelle is dry AF. Yeah, Michaela probably would have been. Michaela did deserve to make it to the merge, but she got blindsided. That's really all there is to that.
It happens.
Let's see here. Mike Carson, this is a fun comment. Bring back the girl I saw in the last podcast. She actually made more sense than Will. Whew, man. How's that make you feel, Will?
I wish I knew which point she was referring to, so we could, it might be another like one of these comments that calls us idiots when we, say things that we don't say.
Yeah, exactly. But whatever. I guess we'll bring.
I could be an idiot.
Back one, huh?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Jeff Steinberg, I thought you actually have to get screen time to go home. I thought whoever had the most screen time in the past 1 or 2 episodes went, like Brendan or Nick or Troyzan. Not this vote. Not for this episode. I would say Adam is in deep trouble because he had the screen to himself this episode. Yeah, Michelle, I still think, though, got, like, some screen time. Like, they gave her some before it, and, like, it's just, like, it's not a typical merge boot. She almost reminded me of, like, Kelly Remington. Like, Kelly Remington didn't really get any screen time either, and she was the merge boot.
Yeah, it's I think the editors now are, like, aware of all the analysis that goes directly into looking at how the show is edited. So if they can't just give Michelle a bunch of confessionals, or it makes it too obvious for people closely watching. And as the online community grows and more people talk about, Survivor, like the heavy editing stuff, then they're going to start switching things up. And we've seen some really, really well edited episodes of late. And I think it's awesome. It really is awesome.
Yeah, it is. Angry Chelsea fan 07 put a Heroes vs. Villains 2 cast. If you guys want to check that out, it's pretty interesting. We're not going to read it out here. But if you want to look, it's one of the comments. I'll jump over to Twitter now because Jeff Steinberg goes on a run here. So let's go over to Twitter. And Curtis, this was the question. Is it me or are there little to no villains aside from Figtails and Michelle and plenty of heroes this season?
Yeah, we kind of hit on that, and I don't think we need like one master villain to have a fun season. I've seen a lot of that online and stuff, and also people don't like the season as much as us, Phil. I really don't. I'm seeing a lot of people saying it's meh, middle of the road, it's okay.
That's what people say every season now. Nobody's ever satisfied anymore. Like, I don't even know why people watch TV. Everybody just complains about everything.
I mean,
I don't think anybody's ever universally loved this season since we've been podcasting now.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I honestly everyone's now saying, oh, it's not as good as Korong or Second Chance. I love those seasons. But we're one episode in the merge, and it's how Survivor usually works. It gets better as it gets deeper. Like, you go from 12 people down to 3 people. That's usually like when it's just bread and butter episodes of like really fun boots and more strategy and idols because everyone's on one tribe. Everyone's going to tribal council every single episode. So I've enjoyed it thoroughly, but also if you haven't, it's still like the best part's coming up.
At least I hope. Yeah, you would hope. Everybody, I was just looking through the chat while you were talking. I was listening, but I was looking through the chat. I didn't forget my banner. For some reason, my banner won't work. So we are aware that this banner is not here. I have to figure out what's going on. I've tried like numerous different things, and it won't work. But we have the cool new logo that will work. So.
Yeah, I'm going to make a custom banner at some point anyway when I get the time. So we'll have – yeah, it won't even be the Google Hangout banner. We'll have our own Phil and Will banner.
Man, we're getting so good. Anyway, Giovanni Oriana, who is Zeke playing similar to? I would say Todd. They're both not too strong, both great at confessionals. Who do you think Zeke's playing the most like, Will?
I like that Todd comparison. It's very good because Todd, I think, stayed in the background as long as he could as someone who wasn't like a strategic mind. And Zeke, I don't think people are looking at Zeke as someone who's really pulling strings and making things happen. Or they'll start to realize, but that might be too late. That's a great comparison.
Yeah, I think it's a good comparison. I look to see how is Zeke going to keep going through this merge now. Because how is he going to keep going? Is this just going to be like a one-time deal? Because we didn't get to see too much of him beforehand in terms of like strategic play. So it'll be interesting to see how it keeps going.
For sure.
Gamer Girl, can Sunday be officially labeled as this season's new Invisible edit? I mean, probably. I mean, she really is invisible. We'll see if she ever picks up, but yeah.
I mean, we see this all the time with this character type. Like the older woman either goes super early or gets carried to the finale. And I don't know what they can do to fix it. They need to find like a I think Debbie was, as the older woman last year, was great. And then Joe picked up the slack as the old man who does nothing. Like, they're going to put like that because they need one older male and one older female on each season. Like, I get that. But be real, like, why is Sunday here, honestly? And, like, I love this cast. And I know nothing against Sunday. And not that she's not – I said it last week. She's actually playing a really good game. She's always been in the majority at every tribal council she's been to. But, man, just got to have more energy, more – I mean, her confessionals, I guess, they're just not that fun to watch. That's what I imagine. I haven't seen many of them to judge.
It is really weird that, like, this character is always on the show. And, like, Dawn was probably the best one in recent memory. And she's still, like, pretty much the exact same thing as Sunday. So I don't really know what they're going for. They got to go – I think they almost have to step away from the motherly role and get another Debbie. Get, like, maybe, like, a Sandy from Tocantins or, like, something like that where it's a little more out there. And just a little more, like, entertaining. Because if you think about earlier seasons, the older women character went really far a bunch of times. I mean, they went pretty far, like, each time. I mean, I know, like, in, the first boot ever was Sonya and stuff like that. But, like, you look like somebody like Scout made it all the way to the end. Lil, I know she got voted out, but she still made it all the way to the end. Like,
yeah, Kathy got third place in Marquesas. Great. You look at Tina winning Australia. Like, Tina was awesome.
And I feel like they kind of lost their way with T-Bird. I mean, T-Bird was great in Africa. She gets 5th place. She's great in Africa. They kind of lost their way a little bit in terms of like it almost feels like every older woman that's on the show now is like Kim Johnson. And Kim Johnson is fine. She's not a bad player. She's not even really like a boring player. It's just like Kim Johnson didn't really bring anything to the table. And it feels like the older women have kind of drifted towards that character.
Yeah, I mean, do we have an older lady? I guess we have Sari is getting the olden age for next season. But it's tough with returning seasons. They don't fall in the same character types they get.
Yeah, they're going to be a little,
look at that.
And they've all aged at this point.
We don't need to talk about Sunday this much.
I'm just, okay, anyway. Gamer Girl, how do you think Adam's dumb move of telling Taylor about the reward will affect his game? Most dumb moves do. How bad do you think this is going to hurt Adam?
I don't know. It's like if Taylor and Jay go around telling people that Adam can steal somebody's reward, big deal. It's if it were an idol, if it were a vote doubler or vote steal or an advantage, like a legacy advantage or something that could really influence the game. I know stuff goes on in rewards and people want to eat and people want to see their family members, and I get that, but he can steal a reward. Like, it's more of like a bummer. Like, I hope he doesn't steal my reward. It might actually help. It might help Adam because people are like, I need to befriend that guy because when he gets a reward to steal, he's going to choose people to take on that reward. I want to go on it. Or if I win, I win. I don't want Adam taking something from me. And if I'm really good friends with him, like if Adam's best friend was on, who's his closest ally right now? Like, let's just say it's Hannah or Hannah wins the reward challenge and, is he really going to steal a reward from Hannah? Probably not. So it actually might help Adam.
Yeah, I don't think it can really hurt him. It's weird. It's such a weird advantage. I mean, the only
way it hurts him is if people say Adam was looking for the idol and found this advantage. If they frame it in that way where Adam is like really looking for an idol, that can hurt him. But I don't think Jay and Taylor are going to use that. They're just like, he has this advantage and it's really scary. He can steal a reward. People are like, oh, okay, now I want to be friends with that.
Yeah. Giovanni says, should Adam use his reward stealer immediately and not be a Dan, Steven, or Ty when it comes to the advantage? I mean, I think he just kind of – I don't even know if he's ever going to use it, to be honest. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre thing.
I think he uses it. I hope he doesn't use it in a bad way. I would use it at, one of these earlier rewards where it's not crazy cool, like you're not flying out and doing overnight. Steal someone's burger or something,
I honestly don't think I would ever use it.
I don't think I would either. But if you are going to use it early.
Yeah, but I don't think I ever would. Giovanni, does Hannah have Haley upside? Both are weird but not insufferable. I mean, Hannah's fun. I wish we would have seen a little bit more of her early, but she's still fun.
Yeah, I'm becoming a very, very big fan of Hannah. And I was a big fan of Haley too. I'm actually excited to see Haley play again. She's being grouped into with Sierra as like people that are getting the most negativity for season 34. I would much rather see Haley play than Sierra. I do not group those together because Haley was fun. Sierra didn't do all that much in Worlds Apart. Mm-hmm. Haley actually had like some fun quotes and some fun energy.
I thought Haley was going to win for such a long time. Gamer Girl, could the last three girls go back to back to back? That would be a first. I think they obviously could because, I mean, they can be voted out, but I don't see it. I mean, why are Sunday, Hannah, and Jessica going to be the next three boots on this season?
We both have Sunday and Jessica in what, our top 4 or top 5?
I mean, yeah, we have them really high.
So, yeah.
I'd be like really surprised if those were the next 3 boots. I mean, granted, I've been surprised the last 2 boots. Not so much with Michelle. I guess I was surprised with Michelle. And definitely with Michaela, that the fact that she was even on the target that episode. But like, I would be really, really shocked. I have Sunday, Hannah, and Jessica all in my top 5. So I'd be really. All right, let's see. We have Giovanni Oriana. Did you see the way the preview for this week's episode was presented? Thought it was so weird but good. I actually didn't watch it. We should probably watch that. Did you watch the newest one?
I think I did. Yeah. I think it's with Jay and Taylor saying they're going to like screw up Adam's game by telling people about the advantage. If I recall correctly. I'm going to watch it right now.
Yeah, I'll read another question and then send me the link and I'll watch it too. Giovanni, is Jay the poor man's Joe just with more strategy and more personality? I think Jay is like a rich man's Joe. I think Joe, he was so stuck being a physical threat that his social game, it was fine, but like everybody knew that Joe would win if he got to the end. I feel like Jay might actually be a better player because he's not as likable.
Yeah, that's the problem with Joe. He never had a chance. Jay has a chance here. Especially he's got an idol and can, I think is more capable of making things happen strategically.
Yeah. Giovanni, do you think Taylor was on Cagayan that he and Morgan would have been making out more than he and Figgy? Man, I don't know what would have happened to Taylor on the Beauty Tribe in Cagayan. He would have been overwhelmed.
Yeah, I just watched the trailer, by the way.
You did? Okay, cool.
I had seen it. It's funnily edited because it's a weird voice and it's talking about like the menu. What's on the menu for this episode? Because there's a menu in the reward. Taylor's stealing food, and there's like a spicy tribal council. So that's like the theme.
Why are they using like a British guy?
It's just they're trying to get people to watch any way they can. But why is Taylor still stealing? Yeah. And you can go ahead and listen. I know you're not listening to me because I didn't listen to you, and I just was watching it for 30 seconds. But why is Taylor stealing food again?
I just watched it. I have no idea why he's stealing food again, and I have no idea.
He got called out at Tribal. And it's
they're playing this up so much that they're going to get revenge on Adam that it's almost like – I feel like it's almost like guaranteed that Taylor's going to go.
Yeah, because who's the one planning this revenge on Adam? It's Taylor, who has just been shown as this goofball. We haven't really seen it from Jay yet.
This is the first time they've ever done this ever, like with whatever we just watched, whatever that preview just was. So, like, I almost feel like they're even playing up more that he's a goofball.
No, they do like weird themes sometimes. They definitely
really, dude. I don't remember one like this in a long, long, long time. With that British guy's voice,
I watched it. No, dude, I watched it and I didn't think anything about it because they do this. Like if they have a Thanksgiving episode, they always or like a Halloween spooky Survivor. Like, oh, what's that? Like, I don't know. They do like
But this is out of nowhere. This is in the middle of the thing. I almost feel like this is more of this guy is almost like heckling Taylor and his revenge.
I don't know. I didn't think it was all that crazy. It is a little weird, but it didn't jump out to me.
Okay. Well, anyway, back to Twitter. Giovanni, nice haircut, Phil. You don't have to lie to me, man. It's okay. I'm not offended. T-Rex Survivor, who will be wiped out first? All Gen X women.
You got a little pee sticking down. You should probably brush it over.
Oh, yeah, let me fix that. Sorry. Now it looks even better. So it's who will be wiped out first? All Gen X women or all millennial women?
Probably all millennial women, just because there's only one left. And Sunday again, like, why is Sunday going in the next 4 or 5 episodes? Unless she gets idled out at like final 7 or 8.
Yeah, I would think that these 3 women would last at least a couple more. Giovanni, the villain, is Zeke, but he will be a fun villain. He could.
That's true. That's such a good point. Who said that?
Giovanni.
Giovanni's on top of it. We've been talking about Jay being the villain or Taylor's. It's Zeke, right? Because he's saying, like, I want to crush people's souls and dreams, and he's, like, so happy about it and funny. And he's very much like Todd. And Todd was he said similar things, and he was the villain in China.
Yeah, Todd would definitely be on Villain Tribe. I mean, he voted out one of the biggest heroes of all time.
Right. So I can't believe we didn't even talk about that. Go Giovanni.
Yeah, good job. Steel Punch, please read. Fun fact, I've met 4 survivors before. Dan Foley, Rodney, LJ, and I met Brett this weekend. All right, well, who's the best? You got to tell us who's the best out of those 4.
I wonder where he met Brett.
That's another good question. Steel Punch, Brett has had 3 confessionals the last 2 episodes. Sudden increase of airtime is part of a winner's edit or a near boot. Which one do you think it's going to be for Brett, dude?
I don't think it's a winner's edit. It could be a near boot, but you don't need to read into it too much because he did go to tribal council for the first time since the tribe swap 2 episodes ago. And then when you merge, I think everyone should get a little bit. Ken got nothing, which we talked about, which was very odd. He could go. I have him at 9 or something in the power out of 9 out of 12. Like, we don't have high hopes for him, but he definitely needed the confessionals 2 episodes ago because he went to tribal.
Yeah. All right. So now we go back to YouTube where Jeff Steinberg has a bunch of comments in a row here. Let's see. He goes, did you know that they have 2 takes on that immunity challenge because Adam, Hannah, and Will were the only ones that knew that you must push up on the bar, and due to refilling the buckets and getting the paint off everyone, it took 2 hours to redo.
Wow. I did not know that. That's really funny.
That's crazy. Where did you hear that?
Maybe next interview from Michelle.
Maybe. Jeff Steinberg, Zeke is like Jim Rice because he is that nerdy, awkward, smart good player who will never go beyond more than 2 or 3 merch boots because they will realize he is very smart. I disagree because Jim Rice was stuck on the wrong side of a pagonging, and I don't think Zeke is.
I like that comparison too, though. I'm usually not big into the comparisons, but Todd and Jim Rice combo creating Zeke, I can see it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it definitely makes sense. Jim Rice is really good. I miss Jim Rice. Jeff Steinberg, I felt certain that Adam wouldn't use the steal or reward as the loved one visit because he would use it on the steal the advantage in the final 4 or 5 immunity because he doesn't know about the legacy advantage. Thought that until they brought the loved one visit up to Taylor. Interesting, and I do think that we are not going to see an advantage for the final 4 or 5 used at like one of these at like an auction this season because of the legacy advantage.
Honestly, I'm starting to think the legacy advantage came out of they wanted to have a skill reward, and someone said, wait a second, if a super fan gets this, which super fan likely will, they're saying, hey, we can't have someone hold on to this thing and then just steal the biggest reward of the season, which is that advantage. So they're like, okay, let's put that advantage into a new advantage, the legacy advantage. So I think the legacy advantage is a product of the reward steal. It makes a lot of sense. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Who commented that? That was very good analysis, I think.
Jeff Steinberg, I met Adam on Thursday and asked why he wanted to vote out Will, and he said one of the reasons because on day 1, Mari and Will made a final 3 alliance and broke it after 5 minutes off camera, of course.
Wait, who did he run into?
Adam.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
cool. Jeff Steinberg, is this the Three Amigos all over again? I think so. I don't know. I mean, they're not. I don't think there's like Will is the Eddie. I feel like almost like, and there's no way that Will's going to be sitting in Final Five.
I don't think it's the Three Amigos, and here's why. The Three Amigos had no shot. Like, they were just there, like, all right, we are done. We have two idols. Let's use them and get Philip out. Like, they didn't really have a chance. I think these three people at the bottom, I don't think all of them have a chance, but I think they are going to mix things up against the majority and have much more success at that than the original Three Amigos did. Because the Three Amigos were like, and no one wanted to work with them.
Yeah.
They were just, don't touch them.
Okay. Jeff Steinberg, do you think this would be the second 10-person jury just like in Cambodia, or the first 11-person jury making it a final two? I don't think they have enough time to make it a final two. I already saw like how they think it will break down on, I think it was Sucks did it, where they said like how they think it'll break down for like each episode now, like when people will be voted off, like what day. And they were voting people off every other day, and then one person gets voted off the last 4 days. So like I really don't think that they can. I don't think they have the time to do a final two.
It's going to be a final three, almost 100%. Yeah. And we also, I think we'll get a double episode on Thanksgiving. We got that last year. I tried podcasting in my home with like 15 people on the Wi-Fi. It did not work at all. We do have Alexa this year who might be able to come through for us, but I will be in North Carolina. But I think we're going to get a double episode on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, I'll still be here. I'll still do it. Guys, don't forget to comment on this video. I know a lot of you I know a lot of you are still talking in the chat. Comment on the last video.
I don't know. We say it so often. Put it in the description. Good reminder.
It's still, I mean, people are doing it. We got new listeners and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, Jeff Steinberg, this makes my case right for why Adam should have kept Figgy over Ken. Had he not, Taylor wouldn't do whatever he can to destroy Adam's chance of winning. But when you're like on the minority, like, it doesn't really hurt Adam so much. He's got to worry about all the other people wanting to destroy his chance of winning. He doesn't really just have to worry about Taylor. Taylor doesn't have anybody on his side except Will and Jay.
Yeah, and I still think Adam can work with Ken more than he would be able to work with Figgy. Like, if Figgy and Taylor were still in there, Adam can't go up to Figgy and talk about strategy without Taylor being right there. He can go up to Ken right now. I think they have a good relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can, but I don't know.
Where was Ken?
Where was Ken? I don't know. Like, Jeff Steinberg, do you think anyone will ever top Russell Hant's 108 confessionals in Samoa? I really don't. There's just been less confessionals every season, and nobody will ever be edited like that again. So that's it for Jeff Steinberg's huge run there. Let's go to some other people. Neon Cat. What's upsetting about the Michelle boot is that in the exit interviews, she states that Will and Jay told her to lay low because people were getting skeptical about her being a strategic threat, which she claims Jay told her that was a reason they got rid of Michaela. She went out by trusting that her alliance members would get the numbers to vote out Adam instead of her controlling the vote and numbers herself.
Yeah, it's just like, it's tough because we don't know exactly what was told to her. It's like, if Brett and Sunday are gonna vote with you, and I'm Michelle, I at least want to talk to them and say, all right, like, let me get confirmation. I'm not gonna rely on Jay or Taylor saying, yeah, they're good. Like, don't do anything. No, like, I gotta talk to them, and if that, like, I think you have a bigger chance of getting voted out without confirming votes than you do if you go up and maybe someone sees you talking. It's like, you're going to tribal, everyone's talking. I don't think that paints that big of a target on your back to, like, go out and say, hey, like, we're good, right?
Yeah, I think she had to, and I think she should have, and I think that's a mistake she made. You got to keep it in your hands. You can't put it in somebody else's the entire game. So, or you have to try at least. Jeff Steinberg, prior to this episode, Michelle played a major role in determining the votes. In every episode, she went to tribal. She did. And like the last comment just said from Neon Cat, she didn't try to control this one, and that's probably one of the main reasons she went home.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how much influence she had in the CC vote. I think, Zeke and Michelle were going to do whatever Chris and Zeke wanted to do. Like, they're on this 3-2 minority. They just rolled with it. So I don't know if she was super influential with CC, but I do give credit for Michelle for playing hard the whole time, except not hard enough the boot she goes home.
Yeah. Anderson Fraser, Survivor is really hitting us with great seasons lately. Worlds Apart was decent. Cambodia was good. Korong was great. Really great show. And then if Jay is going to win, he's going to have to go kind of like Mike Holloway. See, I don't completely agree with that. Mike Holloway completely dug himself a grave. Like, completely dug himself a grave.
Like, they wouldn't even talk to Mike Holloway. Like, they would not look. They'd say, go sit on the beach by yourself. We aren't talking to you. Have food by yourself. You're going to have to win every challenge. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it. And that's what he did.
That's what he did. And then they had to give him respect for that because they did not see that coming. Gamer Girl, did you watch Jeff's Facebook Q&A? He didn't reveal much, but he did reveal that this season is going to be one of the more shocking blindsides, and that next season will also have some shocking blindsides. He didn't say who, though. Probably a good thing he didn't say who. We'll see. You know, they don't always edit it. It'll be shocking to Jeff sometimes, but they don't always edit it that way. And I did not watch the Q&A. Did you? I
watched the Q&A, not all of it. But, yeah, Jeff will say something, and then, like, that he sees out on the island, and then once he looks at the footage and the editors put together, it could be telling a different story. So, I mean, I don't always trust Jeff. It is nice for him to say, though, that this season's great and next season's great. He said Worlds Apart was great, though, and I was not the biggest Worlds Apart fan, so I really can't trust Jeff. But, hey, for now, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say, woohoo, you know, Millennials vs. Gen X is going to be good, and Season 34 will be good. At least he's not saying they're bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if he says they're bad, though, then we should really be worried. Dennis O'Connell, Dennis O'Connell, sup, guys, with all the shocking votes this season, what was the one vote that someone did that totally took you by surprise? He's talking all the time. Mine was when Chris wrote down Sarge's name. I was so shocked, and although I loved Sarge, Chris made the right decision, and his reason for it was perfect. I would definitely say without a doubt Chris is the best winner of all time. Who's one of your shocking? Who's, like, your most shocking, bro? You got, like, a most shocking person to get voted that somebody voted for somebody?
The most where I was like, you know, I do not remember the older seasons as well as I should. They just aren't as fresh, and I've watched them too. They're just, I'm trying to think of someone. And when you rewatch a season 2, each boot is less shocking because you know you have a general idea. So it's hard for me to reach back. I will just go back to Cagayan with Wu writing Cass's name down. I mean, from the editing, we should have seen that Wu nor Cass was going to win the game. But at that moment, I was like, there's no way he votes Cass off. Like, he's throwing away $1 million if he writes Cass's name down. Like, you were literally throwing away $1 million. And sure enough, writes Cass's name down, takes Tony to the final 2, and gets smoked. That really was shocking.
Yeah, and I think, like, if you want to just talk older seasons, because I know I like to throw at least one out, the most shocked I was probably when Pascal and Nalia actually wrote down John Carroll's name. Because we had not seen that yet in Survivor, and that, like, totally changed everything. So I would say that's still probably one of the more shocking boots the show's ever had, because at the time, people just did not think that people were ever going to flip on each other. This show could have gotten so stale had that not happened.
Right. And there's so many. I've been shocked so many times on the show, and if I hadn't been shocked, I can't remember now, but if I hadn't been shocked, I wouldn't keep watching. It happens all the time. It happened last week with Michelle. You know, like, I did not think Michelle was going home.
I didn't think Jay was going to write down Michaela. Like, it's just a bunch of stuff. Dennis O'Connell, I feel that this season is definitely the best in a long time. I feel like you don't need so much strategy to make a fun season. The season cast is so original. It reminds me of earlier seasons. There weren't so much strategy, but the cast made us keep coming back. It reminds you of why you guys love Borneo and Australia and Outback so much. And, yeah, I think that this cast is mostly just, like, they're just so damn likable. It's really just making this so much fun.
Yeah, and it's so weird because we get comments like this, and I talk to you about the show, and it's like really everyone's really high up on this season. And I was in the Survivor Reddit last night or yesterday, and it just people don't seem to be that stoked on it. Like, it just doesn't seem to be getting – people are just like, it's okay.
But you gotta keep, like, in mind, I think, like, the general Survivor, like, watching people are really enjoying this. I know everybody I talk to is enjoying this. You gotta remember, like, the people on, like, Reddit and Sucks and all that, like, they're constantly just talking Survivor. They just watched Australian Survivor. Like, it's almost like I feel like for them, they look so far into it kind of like we look like way too far into it, but like we still have like more of a positive spin on it. I feel like some people just look so far into it that then they almost like convince themselves that it's not as good as what they want because it's not happening the way they want it to, or just something's not turning out the way they want it.
I can see that where like it should have gone this way. That was so dumb. I'm the best at everything. Yeah, I'm glad we haven't gotten there yet, and that could happen to us at some point where we're just like, why didn't this person do this? And just get angry, like some people. But for now, I think we're okay.
I hope so. Gamer Girl, I also thought at one point during this episode that Adam would play as idol and Will would be idled out. This was before Will won immunity. I do agree with Phil that that's going to happen. I see it happening at Final 9, like with Wes and Sam Wandosa.
Yeah, when Keith idled out his kid.
Yeah, that was so funny. Oh, my God. The Real Negro, hey, guys, what is your favorite and least favorite theme Survivor has done? My favorite is the collar season because of how interesting the tribes could be, and I know the season wasn't great, but I feel like the right cast, this theme could really work. My least is Blood vs. Water, so overrated to me. Theme, Redemption Island is the worst theme.
Yeah,
I mean, I
don't want to see Redemption Island. This might sound crazy, but I think my favorite theme – I wish I could say Three Tribes Start was a theme. It's not. Brains, Bronze vs. Beauty has been good both times. But One World is an awesome theme and an awesome twist because those first few episodes when they were on the same island, that's when that season was at its best. And I think that cast was so bad and they were still making it good. If you do One World again with a good cast, I think that can work very, very well. And One World's my least favorite season, but the idea of them living together, that's not what made it bad. They abandoned that after 4 episodes, never went back to it, obviously, until they merged. That happens every season. But, man, I'd like to see that again.
I agree with you. I think the One World idea is so underrated because of how terrible that season was. That is such an interesting dynamic, and Colton was like the perfect person for that, constantly running over to the women and all that stuff. I think you do that, you mix up the tribes, don't just make it men versus women. Just make it where, here's your 8 and here's your 8. Go. And I really think that with this cast, that could have been brilliant.
Millennials versus Gen X living in one world. It's almost like a real world.
Yeah. I mean, I think that could have been really fun. Anyway, Giovanni Oriana, I think that last week's move to vote out Michaela was bad, and here's why. Had Jay voted out Brett, that means Chris doesn't have him at the merge, which weakens Zeke's side. Sunday could have been a number for Jay because who knows who has her. Hannah doesn't flip. Michaela stays loyal to Jay based on how close she and Jay were. Means the alliance at the merge is Jay, Will, Taylor, Michelle, Hannah, and Michaela going against Zeke, Adam, Ken, David, Jessica, and Chris. That leaves Sunday at the very least in the middle, and it could be anyone's game at that point, but it's more likely that Michelle could have survived the merge vote than what actually happened.
Yeah, I mean, Hannah might be in the middle there too, though, because Hannah immediately went to Zeke and Adam, and I don't know how close Hannah and Michaela were, because right when Hannah gets back from tribal council, she says, if you had told me I would have voted with you, I would have done it. Like, she was ready to, flip on those guys. Originally, Hannah and Jay weren't that close on that Gen X tribe, so I think Hannah actually would have gone back to Adam and Zeke anyway, regardless of Michaela still in the game. So that actually would shift the numbers over, and I think Sunday would stick with the Gen Xers for sure. She'd have no reason to go with these millennials that just voted out her only ally, Brett. Yeah, and she was tight with Chris, and I think voted with Jessica a couple times there. So I don't see any reason why Sunday would go with Taylor, Will, and Jay. I just don't see how that happens. So I think it's a good thing to talk about too. Like, if Jay had kept Michaela, what would have happened? I honestly think that he still would have been in the bottom, right? Is that what? Do you agree with what I just said? I don't know. It happened pretty quickly.
Kind of. I mean, I think that Hannah definitely probably runs back to Zeke and Adam because I think she wanted to work with Zeke and Adam the whole time. Michelle just completely played her at that first tribal. So I think she's probably running back. And Michaela, she probably would have been loyal to Jay, but man, I don't know. It's the hypotheticals are really hard.
It's really hard, especially 13-person merge with a lot of people, and you substitute Michaela, who's so influential, into that. It could have changed everything. It likely would have. But I don't think we can sit here and say if Jay had voted out Brett and then brings Michaela to the merge, that Jay is in the majority. I think it's more likely that he would have still wound up on bottom. And then Michaela easily could have told somebody about Jay's idol if she's vying for a spot, trying to get influence or power. You also have Brett, who he's not really a factor, but I don't know. It's such a big difference between Brett and Michaela. They're just night and day.
It is. Jake Conley, who do you guys think is most likely to split from the nine group, assuming they kick Adam out?
So I guess it would be the 8 group. I can see, honestly, there just be a divide between the Gen X and Millennials. Like, you have Chris, Brett, Sunday, maybe David feeling good. And then I think Zeke would definitely be open to flipping. Hannah, for sure, flipping over. I don't know. I could see David flipping too.
I think there's a lot of wiggle room here. Like, you look at Worlds Apart, the Beauty, whatever, the no-collar tribe, pretty much Beauty. The no-collar tribe, they didn't have any wiggle room. They were going to get picked off. They really couldn't ever work their way in. I feel like there's a lot of wiggle room here because of the 3 tribes, and then it went from 2 to 3, and then, now they're here. And everybody had to go to tribal. So I think there's a lot of wiggle room for Jay and Taylor and Will.
Yeah, that's what we've said there's so much that can happen. And 9 or 8, I think these numbers are so big.
Yeah, Giovanni Rihanna, among that big group of 9, I think the alliances are this: Chris, Brett, and Sunday, Adam, Zeke, and Hannah, David, Ken, and Jessica. Which 3 will go the furthest, in your opinion?
See, I could see Adam, if he's not getting good vibes from, Zeke and Hannah, he can just bump on over to Jessica and Ken. I think they actually get along really well.
Mm-hmm. But I also think Zeke and David are actually more of the alliance. I don't think David is as tight with Ken and Jessica. He's definitely still likes Ken and Jessica, but I think he might be tighter with Zeke at this point.
I mean, it's hard to say 3-3-3. I think it was well done. 9 divided by 3, got it. But there's so much going on. I don't know if we can say this enough. Don't think this 9 is going to stick it out. They're going to turn on each other, and it could be anyone who turns on anybody.
Yeah,
how's that for a prediction? We don't know.
Yeah. If this is the 3-3-3 though, I would say David, Ken, and Jessica will last the longest.
Yeah, they've had the biggest story. They were the underdogs from the beginning, and they've all made it to the merge together. Chris, Brett, and Sunday. I think those are your 3 that will go earliest.
Yeah. Boosh Bear, this is a family podcast. Question for prediction tips. I like that you call it that. To answer question 1, I don't know, man. I'm not very strong. Question 2, no. If you go watch Michelle's Ponderosa, I'm not going to read the actual questions if you want to read the comments. But anyway, Michelle's Ponderosa, I don't know if you watched it, Willie, but did you watch Michelle's Ponderosa?
I have not, no.
All she really talks about is the Bible. Honestly, her at Ponderosa by herself kind of reminded me of why I thought Michelle was so boring before the season started. I did not really enjoy it. I thought it was boring.
I think that's why I didn't watch it.
She's a good person, but man, that's what I thought we were going to get from her on the show, and I'm glad she was much more entertaining around other people.
Well, it's always tough being the first one at Ponderosa, and you have no one to interact with in your video, and like you're saying, Michelle's the worst person to probably be the first Ponderosa video.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. Brendan was a lot of fun. Cass was a lot of fun. Michelle's just a really bad person to be the first one at Ponderosa. So let's see here. Gamer Girl, Will, correction on something you said earlier. No one knows that Jay has the idol. That is incorrect, my friend. Jay and Will have found the idol together. Remember, you're still my favorite specialist, though. I think Gamer Girl made a typo there. You're probably her second favorite specialist. I don't know what she means by this favorite.
Oh, I'm just Jay and Will, I group them together. They found the idol together.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much one.
Thanks for being the favorite. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, dude. You got somebody. MLG Wet Walrus. Money is on David winning everything. AT. Hey. Yeah, it could happen. It really could. AT a T. Hey, do you guys think Adam might quit if he gets word of his mother's worse condition with cancer? Because I heard the cancer got the better of her in the closing days of filming. What do you – yeah, because they did mention this as a he would steal the family reward. And obviously it makes sense in this situation because his mother is dying of cancer. And people might not know that, but I think that's a very easy one. You're not going to lie. I mean, Johnny Fairplay lied about his grandmother. Even Johnny Fairplay is not going to say his mom has cancer. So I feel like this could be understood. I don't know if he would quit though. I don't know if there'd be something. I know somebody had said, I don't know where it was, but they said that they would love this to be one of those Skype interview things like Bob got in Gabon, where like he could actually talk to his mother for a bit. But I don't know what they would do. I really don't know how this would go.
Yeah, it all really depends on timing. It's just like when it's. I don't know the timing, and we don't know how far if even Adam is in the game at whatever point stuff starts going bad. So it's really hard to say.
Yeah. MLG, this is the last comment. MLG Wet Walrus. If Phil says my nose out loud on the podcast, I will sub with 10 accounts. Also, David gonna win. My nose. I mean, I will totally say my nose for the. I mean, I have a huge nose. I get it. Yeah, I would totally do that for 10. Are you kidding? We get 10 subscribers. Right. Yeah.
Right. And if you haven't subscribed already and you're not one of 10 Wet Walrus's accounts, you can subscribe anyway. What should I say? My nose?
I don't know, man. I don't
know. All right. You said that's it? That's all. That's all the comments.
That's all the comments. So we'll see you, I guess, on Wednesday. If you were in the prop bet, if you're near the top, congrats. If you're near the top of the boot list, congrats. We finally updated those. Hopefully we can keep up with it now and stop being lazy.
And what's cool is cool, like I'm near the top in the boot list and you're near the top in the prop bet. Like we got a lot of, we kind of
only 5 points back in the prop bet.
Yeah, and I'm only 3 points behind you, and I've got some heavy hitters coming up, I hope. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, all that good stuff. Follow us on Twitter. We hit 400 Twitter followers. So our Twitter is really lagging behind YouTube. So hopefully we want to kind of, even those out. Well, not even them out, but just have Twitter catch up.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, everybody.
We don't want everybody
to Right. Don't do that. Okay, thanks, everybody. Phil, you got anything else?
No, man. We'll see you Wednesday.